Hanako tries to pour herself another glass of wine, but ends up spilling some on the table. She's had a couple by now, so considering that she's never had alcohol before, it's no wonder if she's feeling a bit lightheaded. Oh, fairly decent gaze in your eye there, Hanako. Just sorry, Lily, I didn't mean to make a mess. Don't worry, I've got it. Aww. Lily reaches sideways and gently takes the fussing Hanako in her arms, giving me pause. It's okay, Hanako. I'm just happy you're here. Is that not the cutest thing you've ever seen? Hanako gives only a faint nod in response. It's fitting, I suppose, that Lily would be the one to support her like this. I have no idea what Hanako would be like if she hadn't. Seeing the two like this makes me appreciate the fact that I'm privy to such an intimate moment. Even Akira can't help but smile at the sight. I never would have thought I'd managed to find new friends so quickly, and I'm all the more thankful that of all the people. These are the two I befriended. They slowly break off from one another, Hanako regaining herself somewhat while I quickly get myself back on task. I find a towel among Lily's tea set and I start mopping up the spillage. By the time I finish, however, Hanako and Lily have managed to uncork the other bottle and have topped off their glasses. Looks like you're enjoying the wine then. Just don't go too crazy with it after this in mind. We all dutifully nod and agree, but her reminder feels a bit silly given that she's the one supplying underage people with alcohol. Whoa, Hanako! The second glass of wine goes down a lot quicker than the first, and before any of us notice, the second bottle is empty. Oh, where's the rest? While Akira is helping us finish them off, Hanako looks to be almost equaling her in the amount she's had. My head feels a little light, but I think I've managed to gauge my own tolerance surprisingly well. Hanako smiles lazily, toying with her doll's hair. I think it's a pretty safe bet that she hasn't moderated herself as well as I. I don't think it was Hanako's intention to get this drunk, but it seems that the alcohol hit her all at once. She has a very light frame, something which wouldn't help her handle her booze well either. Lily cradles her glass, running a finger around the rim. Her cheeks are rosy, but she's managing to avoid looking woefully drunk. Akira is, as I somewhat expected, largely unaffected. Her smile might be a little wider than before though, maybe. Oh. Hanako suddenly hiccups and accidentally knocks over the doll. I think I should maybe go to bed. Thank you, Hisao and Lily and Akira. She slurs Akira's name pretty hard, barely avoiding breaking out into a giggle midway through. She's completely plastered and I can't decide whether I should feel a little bad or not for being amused at the state she's in. It's hilarious. It really is bizarre to see her acting so carefree. A shame that it's only with the help of alcohol. Yeah, that's true. Here, let me give you a hand. Akira begins to get up to help Hanako out, but she's stopped when Lily gives a sharp cough. That was intentional, by the way. That was not a me coughing. Hisao, would you please? Akira looks a little surprised, and I have to admit that I am as well. I don't mind the request at all, let alone when it's said with such a smile. It just comes rather unexpectedly. Sure, no problem. God damn, Hanako. I pick up the chess set and help Hanako stand up. I do feel somewhat responsible for her, considering that, other than Akira, I'm probably the most sober person in the room. She nurses the doll in one hand and offers me the other. We stumble out of the door into the hallway and into Hanako's room, Hanako bumping into me a number of times on the way. She is absolutely trashed. Inside the room, I flick on the light and as Hanako turns her attention towards a shelf on her dresser. An elegant doll is sitting on it, staring into the bare room. There you go, you'll be safe here. You talking to me or the doll? Okay, talking to the doll. Hanako gingerly places the doll next to the other one and straightens its dress. They sit in silence, hair and clothes perfectly arranged, just like the teapot in Lily's room. They serve as a distinct contrast to the dull whites and greys that permeate her bedroom. Satisfied that her dolls, her only two real possessions, are safe, Hanako takes a step back and stands up, staggering severely. I step forward to catch her if need be, but she regains her balance without my help. For a while, both of us stand in silence as Hanako looks downwards towards the cupboard. Oh, careful there, Hanako. After a minute or two, she begins to sway a little from side to side. It's very off-putting. Are you going to be alright? Hanako raises her head and turns around to me as if she's only just remembered that I'm also in the room. Whoa! What's unexpected is that she takes 2 steps towards me and wraps her arms around my body, her head coming to rest against my chest. I can feel my heart beating as all of my senses feel like they're coming alive again, after their deadening through the previous drinking. The smell of wine on her breath, the feeling of her fingers through my clothing, the scent of her hair underneath my chin. Don't you dare take advantage of her, Sal. My hands remain out in front of me, not daring to touch her. The temptation is there to hug her, to embrace her, to tell everything will be fine, but this feels wrong. Really, really wrong. Good man, Sal. Hanako. But I want to stay with you and Lily. Hanako's slurring reminds me a bit of Misha. She probably wouldn't be too pleased to hear that. You know I can't. You're a girl and I'm a guy, after all, and Lily needs to sleep. She gives a disappointed groan. It's so strange for her to act so forward. Don't worry, I'll see you again tomorrow, okay? I decide to rest a hand on her head to reassure her, deciding that this is as far as I'll allow myself to go in terms of physical contact with her while she's in this state. You, sir, are a trooper, an absolute legend, Hisao. Alright? Hanako's head nuzzles against my chest. It makes me feel all the more uneasy with the situation, and as her arms tighten around my back, I quickly decide to bail out. I rest my hands on her shoulders and give a firm but gentle push. Her grip tightens as little as I do so, but she eventually breaks off. I don't want you to go. Hanako, please. Akira and Lily are going to start thinking weird stuff if I take too long here. It's perfectly true too. I don't really want to take any chances, and I feel very uncomfortable right now. I shouldn't try to read anything into the way she's acting right now. I read that aside from alcohol lowering inhibitions, people can react to getting drunk in many different ways that don't necessarily reflect reality. And even without that, there are plenty of ways to interpret what she's saying. As long as she's safe, I'm going to try and get her out of her room as soon as possible. Hanako hiccups again, looking a right mess as she stands and looks downcast in the centre of the room. Her personality changed as she drank more and more, and now, all alone in her room with me, her previous brightness seems to have left her. Was she just acting upbeat to make sure we didn't worry? Nah. Even if she was, what could I possibly do for her, since I do exactly the same thing in regards to my own condition. Distancing myself from my thoughts, I eventually managed to corral Hanako towards her bed, though her attempts to tame the wild sheets on it end up accomplishing little. Sorry about tonight, Hanako. I know you probably won't remember any of this, but happy birthday. I'm sorry I couldn't do more for you. She looks up at me for a moment. I have no idea if what I actually said got through to her, but any chance to ask is lost as her eyes peacefully close. I sigh in relief before quietly backing away from her and leaving the room, flicking the light switch off as I go. I hesitate a little before opening the door to Lily's room again, quickly rehearsing what I should say if I get questioned about Hanako. After a few seconds, I still can't come up with anything. I open the door and make sure to close it behind me, lest any passing students catch a glimpse of the wine before turning my attention to the girls at the low table. Akira is casually smiling, as is Lily. I welcome the change from the mood in Hanako's room. Is that you, Hisao? Yeah, I got Hanako to her bed. She's sleeping now. That's good. I have to admit, I hadn't thought she'd drink quite so much. Hey, it's fine. She's all safe and tucked up in bed now, with the way she is. She awkwardly trails off, though, and Lily and I would hardly protest. For someone so anxious and fearful, drinking would give an easy out for those constant feelings. I wish I could do more for her. I feel useless. Looking at Lily, I think back to what I asked myself in town. My relationship with her is that of a friend, and has only ever felt that way, but now I think I know why. Lily's been there for both Hanako and me since I first met her, but she's like that for everyone, trying to do her best to make them feel better. With that in mind, then what's the bond between me and Hanako? After rescuing our relationship following the panic attack I had inadvertently triggered during class, I feel like we're back to being friends, but she's on my mind more and more. I can't say I view any other girl in quite the same way, but maybe it's just a normal reaction to someone acting like this. Say, Kira. She yawns before looking at me. It's getting pretty late. You know about what happened with Hanako, don't you? Yeah, Lily told me. I negotiated pretty hard for a break so I could come down and help her make her birthday a bit brighter. We get along pretty well. It's surprising to hear that from someone as extroverted as her. But if Hanako came to know her through Lily, maybe she had time to get used to Akira. And on that note, I'd better get going. I'm already going to be a bit late as it is. But it's already so late. Sorry, we got a bunch of work dropped on us, so overtime it is. She lifts herself up with a grunt and heads past me towards the door. Just before she leaves, she turns back towards us. You haven't forgotten about the time for the flight and all the rest? Don't worry, I have everything ready. It's just a matter of packing when it gets closer to the time to leave. Atta girl. I'll see you guys later then. And with that, she disappears through the door with her hand held high in farewell. Farewell? Your sister is something, alright? I probably should have thought that comment through before saying it. Regardless, Lily seems quite amused at my appraisal. You okay after all that drinking? Not wasted and just hiding it well? I assure you, I am quite alright. I can moderate myself. You seem quite self-possessed as well, if I do say so myself. Yeah, well, I guess your moderation applies to me as well. With a little hesitation, I take a seat at the front in the table in front of Lily. I want to address this directly, if for no other reason than to settle my own thoughts. I've been meaning to ask this, but it took me a while to make up my mind. Do you have any idea about what triggered that panic attack? I gathered it was something to do with her birthday, but I don't know anything more. Even Akira was being really careful around her, so I assume she knows as well. Lily's smile drops. The gaiety, I swear that's not how you pronounce that word, I just fuck it up every time, of the birthday party now well and truly over. To be honest, I'm not sure of all the details myself. Hanako told you that she was in a house fire. She told me as much, after we met and spent a lot of time together. Other than that, she quite simply never told me. She never told you. Assuming the worst, what does she have to look back upon? A life of isolation and possibly even the death of her family. Maybe even as far as blaming her existence for their deaths. Even thinking about what little I know of Hanako's past is bleak. To have lived through all that and to live on with those memories must be infinitely worse. Lily looks similarly depressed, but I can see her rebuild at least some of her composure before my eyes. I get the feeling that both of us are talking more frankly than we might otherwise do thanks to the wine, but it feels like we're just talking out is a good thing anyway. I feel kind of helpless about it when it's put like that. What can I possibly do for her? I'm not wholly sure I should tell you this, but Hanako told me that you visited her the day we both went to check on her. I must admit that I did not predict she would take such a step so quickly after what happened, nor did I expect you to. I think it was a nice gesture on your part. Yeah, see? It wasn't much, really. It's just, at times like this, I sometimes think it would be better if we never had to leave Yamaku, or at least this town. Things are so much easier without others around. I didn't expect Lily to look quite so troubled at what I say, and for a while she looks lost in thought. She moves to speak but stops herself as soon as she does, and rethinks it's a bit off-putting. Tell me, do you have anything planned for Friday evening? Friday evening? No? Is Isn't your flight to Scotland the next day? I don't think it would be a good idea to tire yourself out before you even get there. I'll be alright. You needn't worry about me. I'd do this tomorrow evening, but I imagine Hanako will be feeling rather off for a while. The thought of how she's going to be tomorrow makes me grimace. Maybe we should count our blessings that she didn't end up simply throwing up from drinking so much while having such a low tolerance. Well, I'm going to be able to attend whatever you are planning. What is it? Nothing unusual, I assure you, just a little excursion. And you'd better be off, Hisao. I can't imagine it's long until curfew is here. Oh damn, curfew, I'd completely forgotten. I look at the clock next to Lily's bed, but it seems to be some oddity without written numerals, which I suppose makes sense, given Lily's condition. Not wanting to risk a haughty security patrol giving me a scolding, I get up and decide to go to my dorm as she says. Well then, I guess I'll see you and Hanako tomorrow, assuming the both of you manage to get up in the morning. And you, Hisao. Thank you for your concern, Hisao. Until then. With that, I make my way out of her door into the hallway. I hope her idea will be a good one. Oh, okay. That was an incredibly long episode. Oh, god damn it. No, screw you. I'm saving there. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed these few parts. I think I might split the last part up into two, I don't know, but I think that's about 3 parts. I'm quite literally screwed after that, all of that reading. My voice is getting very dreary and dry, and yeah, anyway guys, I'll see you next time.